right, it's 5:05. Let us begin. Okay, so hello and welcome to today's Clinical Drug Development MSc Virtual Open Day. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Andre Gordon. I'm currently a student as well as a course representative for Clinical Drug Development MSc and your chair for this afternoon. We hope this session will address those course-specific questions you may have and will help you to gain an insight into what is really or what it is really like to study on one of our master's programs. I'm delighted to welcome today's speaker, Dr. Joseph Ndera, who will provide you with a summary of our clinical drug development program. You will be able to ask questions to Dr. Ndera and myself during the Q&A part of the event using the Q&A function. This session is being recorded rather, and will be made available on our website following today's event. Now to introduce our speaker, we have Dr. Joseph Ndera, who's a lecturer and MSc MRes Clinical Drug Development Program Lead within the Division of Medicine at the University College London. His current scientific research focuses on applying breakthroughs in nanoscience to the field of biomedicine. Over to you, Joseph.
Thank you very much, Andre, for the nice introduction. I think I'll start. So, hello everyone. Today I would like to take you through clinical drug development program. So, clinical drug development. This is a one-year degree course for Master of Science and Master of Research. It provides you with a foundation for a career in drug development. And while you are in this course, you'll be able to work alongside some of the best world experts at UCL in terms of the clinical drug development and so in terms of the requirement, so for you to join this course, you are expected to have at least a minimum of an upper second or 2-1 in terms of the UK qualification, either in medicine, healthcare, or any health-related subject. And for those from joining from overseas, you are expected to have an equivalent. Now, I'll talk about the course. Now, this course, that is the clinical drug development course, is designed for graduates or professionals in biomedical science and specifically covers the latest techniques, methodologies, and clinical design. In addition, you learn the regulatory approval process and disease modeling, and at the same time, we use real clinical events to be able to give you the practical aspect. Now, the question is why choose this course or why choose this program? Now, I have there are many reasons that you might want to base on in selecting this course, but I've just given a smaller summary, not the whole of them, but at least to give you the snapshot. So first, if you join this course, you'll be able to access the cutting-edge biomedical research at one of the UK leading medical research institutions. You'll also be able to have understanding of disease models, drug targets, clinical trial, the IP rights and when to file them, and of course the regulatory activities that you have to follow in order to file an active ingredient or a medicinal compound. And of course, you'll acquire transferable skills that you can then use in later life, including medical research, statistical analysis, and of course, study design. In addition, you'll also have opportunities to work with directly or indirectly with experienced academics, and of course, to help you develop a project that align with your future research interests and as well as clinical applications. And also, you'll be able to have network opportunities that you can meet with people that you can then build collaboration in future. And in terms of who this course is designed for, so here in this slide, I have just given a summary of those that this course will appeal to, but it's not not the complete selection, but at least this course will appeal to people working in healthcare research, particularly doctors or professional graduates in biomedical science who want to pursue a lifelong career in academic health research or life sciences industry. Now, at the end of the course, of course, you want to know what happens. So in this case, we have I've identified some 3 pathways that you can pursue. So one is some people will go in for employment, and some of the areas where employment is, where previous students or former students have gone to is NHS Trust, which is a UK hospital setting. You have companies, that deals with manufacture and production of medicines, such as GSK. Some former students join contract research organizations. For example, here I've given Charles River Limited, and others pursue or they join academia, like working within the university. And many other students, they decide not to go for employment immediately after they have done the MSc, and instead they opt to go for PhD programs. And I've listed here some of the places that majority of my students, they go. Some, they stay within UCL to do their PhD. Others, they go to Oxford. Others, they go to America. Like quite a number of students have gone to Purdue University, and of course, many other institutions worldwide. Sorry. And in terms of statistics, for example, we in 2018, 2022, 43% of the MSc student gained employment in high-skilled roles, and 57% proceeded for postgraduate studies, but for, I think, pursuing PhD opportunities. Now, in this slide, I've given a summary of learning and teaching. So basically, in terms of the learning and teaching, so this combines lectures and workshops, laboratory work and practical sessions, as well as research project dissertation. And in terms of contact hours, so we lectures, workshops, and practicals, at least per week, you have 17 contact hours. And in terms of independent study, at least you have 19 hours. So, and this will consist of, your personal research or working with other people. And also, as part of the MSc or MRes program, you are expected to do a video, which is equivalent to 5 credits. Of course, I will explain what the credits are later on. And in this video, you basically pick a topic, and then you make a video, and then you present. Of course, the video is marked, and the best 10, I think, videos are awarded a prize. Now, next we consider the structure of the course. So this course basically has, we give a Master of Science, that is MSc, or Master of Research, MRes, we used to have a diploma and certificate, but at the moment, they are not on offer. Now, we talk about the credits. The credits are basically what you are required to achieve in order to qualify for an MSc award. So, for example, you have to have a total of 180 credits. And in terms of MSc, these credits will be derived from 6 core modules. So that means drug discovery 1, drug discovery 2, which constitute 60 credits. And then you have statistical methods in research, which is 15 credits. You have clinical pharmacology, 15 credits. You have advanced clinical pharmacology, 15 credits, ethics and omics, 15 credits. And then, of course, you have the research project, which is, I think, 90 credit. Now, for MSc, again, you have to achieve a total of 180 credit in order to qualify. And so this will be derived from 3 core modules. So which is drug discovery 1, which is 30, clinical pharmacology 15, statistical methods 15. So then you have 120 from the research project. But in this course, you have the option of selecting an extra module from either omics and ethics or advanced clinical pharmacology. But this will not count towards your qualification, but it's just to broaden your knowledge. Now, in this slide, I have just summarized where you'll be studying from. So, for example, you'll either be in the main campus, that is Bloomsbury, or you'll be at Row Free. And of course, I've also included the number of trainers that you have access to within the UCL. Next, we look at the money. So, of course, if you take this course, you'll be expected to pay, and of course to look for a place where you're going to live. So we have 2 forms of the fee structure. We have the home students, and the fee is around 18,400. And we have the overseas student, the fee is around 32,100. Now, if you are not able to pay and you're interested to acquire knowledge, there is also the option of looking for a scholarship. And I've given here some of the scholarships that you can look at. You can look at the Research Excellence Scholarship, China Scholarship. You can look at the Division of Medicine, Biomedical Science Bursary, which is about 5,000, and it goes towards your tuition, as well as the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. Then the question is, how do you apply to get the scholarship? So the one of the tip is you must apply early, because the competition is quite stiff, and also you must make sure that you meet the scholarship deadline, because if you apply out of the deadline, then you cannot qualify for that particular year. It will mean you have to move to the following year. And then the question is, why do you want, like in terms of the application, you'll be expected to explain why you think it's why you want to pursue clinical drug development at UCL. You'll have also to look at your academic credentials. Do you have the relevant? Are you qualified? And of course, you'll also explain how does the program aligns with your future career goals and your interest in terms of research and aspirations. Now, in terms of, to summarize what we've looked at, it's okay, you can either go for MSc, Clinical Drug Development, which is a 1-year course, or you can pursue MRes, Clinical Drug Development, which is also a 1-year course. They are all 1-year course. The difference is that one is geared more for research, whereas the other one is less research intensive. That's the only difference. But they all have a total of 180 credit in terms of points. Now, to summarize, these are the final thoughts. So if you really want to join UCL, then first check that you have you meet the entry requirement, and of course you have the funding. If that applies to you, then make sure that you make a very strong application, and at the same time you have to write a very strong personal statement. Make sure you apply early in order to secure your place. And where you are in doubt, always refer to UCL websites for more details, or you can actually write to me personally, and I'll be able to respond to you. Thank you very much for your listening, and we can wait for the questions.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Joseph. Actually ahead of time. Oh, there's also one more thing. You mentioned the scholarships, just to let everyone know. There's also the UCL Master Scholarship.
Yes.
Yeah, the UCL Master Scholarship, they actually provide £10,000. Yeah, and then you can probably, for home students, you can possibly apply via the student funding for the additional amounts to actually cover the remnants of that. But it's quite a good scholarship. As Joseph also mentioned, apply early. Yeah, it's highly competitive. There are other financial aids as well. I'm forgetting the name, Joseph. It's is it the Financial Assistance Fund?
Yes. Yeah. Bursary or assistant fund. Yeah, for sure.
Right. There's also the Financial Assistance Fund. So depending on, your
On your
situation,
circumstances. Yes.
right, you can also apply for that. If anything, you can contact. Thank you. Just one moment. I'll share the page with you guys as well. Just give me a minute, everyone. See you guys.
Andrew, if
Yes, yes,
can you, are you able to allow, for example, like because we have plenty of time,
right.
if I mean anybody wants for clarification, they can actually just raise their hand, and then they can speak.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested in actually asking a question, yeah, you may turn your mics on and yeah, just ask away. I'm just trying to share this page for the scholarships. Uh, oh, thank you, Emiliano. You beat me to it. Uh, okay, you guys should be able to speak now. Uh, okay, so from Patrick, what's the difference between MRes and MSc? Okay, so Patrick, I'll answer this one. The MRes is more research intensive. For MSc, yeah, you get a balance. So of course, it involves research, but it's also involved with various experimental procedures as well. So understanding proper GCP protocol, yeah, just being more engaged in the lab as well. So you'll be doing clinical therapeutics or for clinical pharmacology and therapeutics, and you'll also be doing advanced clinical pharmacology and therapeutics. That's with Dr. Pascua, who's a phenomenal lecturer. Actually, he's also based at GSK. Yeah, so you'll be doing various labs such as insulin and glucose. You'll also be doing ethanol and caffeine, and yeah, you'll be stratifying and just estimating based on possibly AUC or exposure based on the drug. It's quite a fulfilling experience being in the lab and gaining that experience as well. You'll also be writing up a protocol, based off the ICH guidelines. So yeah, you'll actually be a research assistant or a clinical research associate. So it's pretty fun. But the difference is one's more research intensive while the other is more balanced. I hope that answered your question.
Maybe just to add, for the MRES, the research will take at least I think 120 in terms of credit, and for the MRES, the research will take about 60 in terms of the credit.
Okay.
More questions?
I suppose what I could say as well, just to add to that, yeah, initially my aim was to delve in clinical trials. However, through the experience of Drug Discovery One, especially Drug Discovery One, actually, I'm now switching to ethics. Yeah, just understanding more of the efficacy and the safety of drugs as well. So being exposed to these varying subjects will allow you to adapt your mentality really and your approach, possibly to your future endeavors. So it's quite a unique niche or field. You'll definitely feel involved. The lecturers are awesome as well. Thankfully, Joseph and Alan also brings through various individuals from industry. I'm seeing some other questions coming through. Okay, so Sean, what are some job roles and career pathways one can go into after completing a drug development master's program? Do you want to take this one, Joseph?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
And in terms of there is career routes that you can pursue. So one, I think you can go through. Like I gave some of the examples, and I have quite a number of students, previous ones where they have gone. So some students, they actually go to work in the hospitals, especially with records, research. I have quite a number of students, previous students who are working in NHS, England. And the other routes, they actually work for pharmaceutical company. Like I think I have there's one. I think I have quite a few students that they joined GSK. I have, I think, one student when she completed this course, she joined Hong Kong, I think, as a funding officer, so they can actually also work for the government. And some students, when they finish the MSc, they actually opt to go for further research, to do PhD. I think I have some students that I mean, when they finished the MSc, they joined Oxford, I think two last year. And then two went to Manchester. Then one went to Scotland. And I think there is another one who joined the WHO from Ghana. So it's quite a range.
Okay, I hope that answered your question, Sean. There's also the opportunity to work as a clinical research associate, or you could use the foundation as a clinical research associate to actually work your way up into various other positions, such as a medical science liaison, which branches or connects, medical affairs as well as business. You could also, if you're interested, delve into regulatory affairs. That's quite a wonderful field as well, especially if you're the reserve type who doesn't like to travel a lot, like myself. Yeah, that'd be a pretty good field to delve into. But I hope that answered your question, Sean.
Actually,
Uh,
the other one, just to add, some students actually they choose not to become employed, but they actually become employers. I have one
oh,
student in India. She when she finished, she started a company, and she's doing very well. So she's not employed, but she's actually an employer.
wow, it's pretty good.
Yes,
Okay, the other question. And remember, guys, you can unmute yourself at any time.
yes,
We're here to, participate and make things more comfortable for you as well. It's quite a small group, so yeah,
yeah.
if you're comfortable in doing so. The next question is, this is an anonymous question. For the MSc, what part of the year slash which semester does the research take place versus the taught classes? Um, so it's mainly in the two semesters, right, Joseph?
Yes, yes. So basically, what if you're doing MSc? So you start your project in second after second term. So that is from April on and April to July. If you are doing MRes, you start your research in January up to July, and you submit. So you do your project from January to July. Then you have 1 month to write a thesis and submit. And then after that, we have 2 weeks, I mean, 1 month, I would say, but it's usually done within 2 weeks, where we invite examiners to review your thesis. And then after that, we set up a defense. So you can then present to examiners, at least two of them. And then after that, you'll be graded. So
Okay,
that's what happens.
all right. Thank you. Hope that answered your question. Uh, there's another question here. How could this course benefit someone that has studied clinical pharmacology and drug development at an undergraduate level? Well, I can speak on behalf of this one. I did pharmacology and physiology, not necessarily drug development in undergraduate, but as an undergraduate. But it was well, this course has definitely given me an all-rounded approach as it relates to, just understanding the unique field of drug development, uh, e- especially in physiology. Yeah, you'd think, studying physiology in clinical drug development is not needed. However, it is, especially in understanding, take for example, for a drug, the efficacy and affinity. You need to understand the clearance. You need to understand the AUC or exposure within the system, within the metabolic rate as well. Yeah, so physiology intertwines in that as well, and pharmacology. Yeah, it encompasses drug development from phase one through to phase four, through the generalized release of the drug. So yeah, it gives you an all-rounded approach. It allows you to be more confident in just understanding your or evaluating various statistical analysis or interim analysis, and yeah, it just gives you a more encompassed view of clinical pharmacology and drug development. I'd say.
I can add a little, I can add to what Andrea has said. So if you have done pharmacology, it's actually very good. It means you know a bit of the things, but you don't know everything. So what then will happen is that you'll widen your horizon, and some of the areas that you will expose you to, because this clinical drug development actually looks at the process from right from the inception of an idea all the way to approval by the regulatory agents. So you are going to learn about the manufacture, of the products, what is required, like a medicinal compound. For example, like if you have done the preclinical studies before you now go to phase 1, so the requirements, you know that. And then, of course, you'll also learn in terms of, because we also bring in the regulatory agents to exactly tell you what are you required to achieve, to move to different stages. We'll also be able to teach you about how to protect your idea. So that is filing patents. And I think what we do is we bring in people who are actually, the attorneys, IP attorneys, who are in the business of filing patents. So they will also come and, teach you, tell you all types of patents that you can file and why you can file. We will also, you'll also learn about business. For example, like if you wanted to do business in terms of the farmer, how can you conduct the business? How can you be able to optimize cost in order to maximize profit? And of course, we'll also teach you, or you'll also gain, more about disease targets and modeling.
All right, thank you, Joseph. Hope that answered your question. Um, okay, we currently have no other questions right now. Um, and any other questions, guys?
Or comments.
Yeah,
I
we
can
can
also
comment.
make comments.
Yeah, that too.
Hello, Andrea and Joseph.
Yeah,
Ah,
hello, hello, hello.
hello.
Yeah. I'm wondering whether there's a possibility of doing this MSc in 9 months. Has it happened before, or is it possible? Can you allow it?
Yeah, it is. It's in in principle, yes, it's possible, because what happens is you start your MSc in September. No, I think no. It has to be 1 year, because what will happen is that you'll finish by July, but then you will have to go through the process, like the examining and everything. And for example, like just if, for example, you fail, then you'll have the opportunity to redo, before the award of the degree. So it's about 1 year. 9 months, no. I hope that answers the questions, Steve.
Yes, it does, Joseph. Thanks.
Okay.
Oh, Joseph, what,
Comments,
Joseph, what,
questions?
uh, Joseph, what about those who are interested in, in actually doing it part-time? Would you say, which would you say is more viable, part-time or full-time?
I think for personally, is if I'll go for full time, because I mean, if because it's 1 year, within 1 year you finish and you move on. But if you do part time, then it will mean you're doing at least 2 years,
Okay,
and that can take a lot of time. But it depends. It depends where you are. It depends what stage in life, what commitment you have. So yes, you can do part time, but personally, if you're not harassed by life, it's better to do it within full time.
okay. Thank you for that. Okay, a question from Aquamo. Are the 17 contact hours based on campus?
So basically, what I think you can answer that one. Anthony?
uh, well, the contact hours. It's best to actually be present for the sessions. I can tell you this: some of the sessions, although recorded, when you're there in person, especially if you have visitors from industry, it's best to be there to actually indulge in the conversation, to actually ask them some pivotal questions as well. Yeah, so it's best to be present for the sessions, for the in-person sessions, and you won't be recommended to be on campus like every day. I mean, the first term, yeah, the first term is a bit grueling. I won't lie,
Yes.
especially with clinical pharmacology and therapeutics with Dr. Pascu. But it's certainly worth it. You get to actually learn a lot, read a lot of research papers as well, understand the limitations of various drugs. Various drugs that appears to be fluid in nature. However, after extrapolating the data and actually delving into the stats, you get to understand that yeah, they're very limiting in nature. So yeah, so I'd say that the contact hours are essential, very essential. Of course, there are times, given your circumstance, if you're working or you may not be able to attend every session, but I'd say yeah, definitely attend if you have the capability to do so.
Just to add to what Anta has said, so I think we understand also that like you have to have the best use of your money and also the best use of your time. So what we basically do is we always ensure that, for example, like if we take Tuesday, and then I think Wednesday and Thursday, right, where you have to turn on campus, and then the other days I think you might stay at home.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, in the first term, yeah, Thursday was a must. Yeah, that's
Yes.
when we had
The
CPT.
the pharmacology.
Yeah, we had
Yes.
CPT from,
Mm.
if I remember correctly, it was from 9 through to
9 to about 5.
yeah, 9 to 5. Yeah, it
Yes.
was a full day.
Yeah.
Uh, on
Yes.
Tuesdays we had drug
On
discovery.
Tuesday from 9 to 5.
9 to Yeah, it was 9 to 5. Right, we had CPT on that day as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Drug
Yeah.
discovery one and then statistical methods.
Oh yeah, statistical methods.
Yes.
Oh, about forgetting stats. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so we had that. So it was Tuesday and Thursday, and I think we had
Yeah.
the
Tuesday and
holiday as well.
Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't too bad.
And then Monday, I think we omics is on Monday,
Yeah,
and then
multi-omics on
multiomics on
Mondays.
Monday,
That was from 2 to 4.
2 to 4, and then you have Wednesday. I think not. No, you don't
Yeah,
have
Wednesday.
anything.
Wednesday we'd have to
Yeah.
ourselves, and Friday
It's
as
a
well.
reading, yeah. And
Yeah,
Friday is also a reading.
yeah. Friday's also reading, so it wasn't too bad. It was
Okay.
reasonably balanced. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, another question from Patrick Toll. What's the difference between this course and the MSc Drug Design course?
Okay. So there is a difference. This course looks at the processes of the developing a drug. The drug design course looks at the processes of designing a drug. You get it? So for example, like in the drug development, we look at, like for example, we look at diseases, we look at targets, we look at the active ingredient compounds, then the process they go through. For example, we look at it in terms of when to apply for phase 1, when to apply for phase 2 trial, when to apply for phase 3 trial, when you have to consider for phase 4 after approval. And then we also look at in terms of if you are a farmer, like how to optimize the cost, what you need to do. And we also, what else to get? But when it comes to the drug design, so predominantly, like you have a compound. And so you look at the compound and you say, okay, this compound, how do I make it? How do I optimize its efficacy? So it's more of engineering a molecule as opposed to looking at how this molecule that has been engineered can then be, approved for use in humans. Does that make it clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Patrick, yeah, okay. Comments or more questions, guys? We're here to make sure that you get as much information as possible. Then you don't have to read. But of course, you don't. We are not saying that you don't read, but we make your reading easier because at least you have all the clarification. Because this is the business we do every day.
I say another great thing is the fact that for the research projects that well there are a multitude of research projects to choose from. I think in total around 265 or something. However, you'll actually be exposed to some of the lecturers as well. In with their fields of specificity, and yeah, that'll allow you to select the right research project for you. Yeah, so that's another great aspect as well. Yeah. So
Okay, yeah, I can also talk about the research. So in terms of the research, we have so basically we have wet research where you work in the lab. So what will happen is that you do your coursework in terms of the modules. When you finish, then of course you start doing the research. So in the wet lab, so you basically you'll choose the topic of your interest. So what will happen is that we'll avail various topics, and then you select the topic that you like, and you also select the person that you want to work with, the supervisor. And then, of course, we'll do the matching so that you can then pay the visit to the potential supervisor that you want to. And then you'll have a chat. And then when you're in agreement, so if you select each other, and then, of course, you can start doing that. So you can start working in the lab. And then you collect the data, and then you do the analysis, and then you make a report. Alternatively, you can do systematic review. So that means you can actually like you carry out the review of the work like that has been carried out, or if it's clinical trials that have been carried out, and then you develop some understanding. For example, like if you're pursuing some of the trials that have been carried out for a particular procedure, and then you come up with the deduction, this was successful. And of course, you explain why it was successful or it was not successful, and explain why it was not successful. And then you give your own opinion, you opine and say that for the future, for this kind of approach or procedure to succeed, APC will be required to be implemented. Then we also have in silico, where you just work on the computer, you do the modeling, and then you write up and you defend it.
all right, thank you for that, Dr. Indira.
Okay.
Um, there's another question from Akramol. Are you able to give one or two examples of topics for the research project? Well, that's interesting. So currently, I'm working on, uh, oh my God, it's escaping me now. Yes, pulmonary hypertension. Yeah, that'll be my main topic. There's no cure for pulmonary hypertension, sadly. However, we'll be working on various mechanisms to treat it in the lab. So we'll be working on various tissue cultures, applying various drugs as well to see the the route of target or the efficacy of the mode of action. So yeah, so that's something that we're working on. We have a few others. I think Alan had one as well. What was it focused on? And I think it was focused on psoriasis. Was it Joseph? I'm trying to remember
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Yeah, so there are a few interesting ones. There's some on genetics as well. I think that's with Dr. Stanescu. Um,
Maybe I think what will happen, the best way is instead of giving topics, so maybe I can just give the areas that like they perform research. So we have in terms of cancer, for example, quite a lot of students do that. We have simulation, quite a number of students when they have finished the coursework, they do that. We have microbiology. Some students they go and start do some work in microbiology, looking at pathogens. Then we have neurology. Some students they go pursue some research in neurology, and also in terms of obesity, they also do that. So we have quite a range of topics, and basically what happens is that we always want to align your interest to the topic that you want. So, and that's why we have quite a range of topics. And what happens is that we ask you to at least select 3 topics, possible topics that you think you like. And then you have to have a chat with the 3 possible supervisors. And then you have to go to their labs and look at that. And if you like it, then yes, then we can match with you and the supervisor. If you don't like it, then you go to the one you like. So the topics are they are not fixed, they are dynamic.
okay, thank you, Joseph. I hope that answered your question, Akamal. For Stephen, which electives are there in the CDD program?
Okay, in terms of, I think let me see if I can show Steven. So if you're doing MSc, there are no electives. So everything is compulsory. So you have statistical methods in research, you have drug discovery 1, you have drug discovery 2, you have clinical pharmacology and therapeutics, and you have advanced clinical pharmacology, and then you have ethics and omics, and of course you have the research project. But if you're doing MRes, so you basically have these are the core modules. So you have statistical methods, drug discovery 1, and clinical pharmacology, and the research project. This is compulsory. But electives are, you have ethics and omics or advanced clinical pharmacology.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Joseph. Uh, okay, so we have several more minutes. Any other questions, guys? And also, thank you so much for turning up. Yeah, we do appreciate the fact that you guys turned out, uh, getting your questions answers, getting your answered, getting your concerns addressed as well. Thank you for turning up. It means a lot to us too.
Yeah, sure. So any comments, the guys? Say something. Is there anything you like or anything you don't like that you need to be improved?
If not, then we could close it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much once again, guys, for actually attending. And and asking, commenting, as well as asking your these prevalent questions or relevant questions. And thank you, Joseph, for an excellent session. Have a great evening, everyone. I think Emiliana has sent Joseph's email to the chat, so you can contact Joseph if anything. I don't mind sharing my email as well if anyone wants to contact me in regards to the course or the specificity of the course. That'd be fine as well. And yeah, thank you once again, guys, for attending. Thank you, and ensure to have a lovely evening.
Thank you and bye.
All right, take care, everyone.